I can confidently say that Stolas is the most hated character in helluvaboss, and honestly, I don't get it. His flaws aren't particularly bad compared to other characters, like Blitz, but Stolas is the only one who's treated by the fandom like he's Judge Holden or something. And the reasons behind the vitriol are either not true or blown way out of proportion to paint Stolas as an irredeemable monster. And I intend to debunk some of them, starting with Stolas being a neglectful father, which I would retort by saying that he's actually doing a good job compared to his own father, who didn't even remember his name. It actually seems like a normal practice amongst Goishas to be absent parents and have their servants raise their children. And while this may come off as praising Stolas for doing the bare minimum, it is nice that he broke the cycle and gave Via the family he never had. And people should consider that more often. But when they call him neglectful, they don't mean in the past. However, I think they conveniently forget that Via is a teenager. She doesn't need as much attention from her father as a little kid. And it's normal that she developed her own interests that her father just doesn't understand or know about. And he's not neglectful for not knowing Octavia's favorite band. But then they mention Blitz and how Stolas trying to pursue a fake relationship with him led him to abandon his daughter. Except he was meeting Blitz for one night a month. So how would that impact Via if she was asleep on their dates? That is, if she was even home to begin with. We know Stella takes her away in the weekends. That doesn't mean she was okay with her father's affair, but that's not the issue here. It's that Stolas didn't really neglect her for Blitz. And the only instance that I might classify as neglect was in Seeing Stars, when he forgot to take her to see the meteor shower. But even then, it was because he was busy with his divorce, not date. And I'm sure he would have taken her if she reminded him. And if you say that Stolas should have stayed with Stella for Via's sake, then I need you to understand that you sound like those alpha bros who say that women should endure abuse and not divorce their husbands for the sake of their children. I need you to understand that. So anyway, I'm not sure what was this based on in the first place. Like, yeah, he's not a perfect father, far from it, but he's not neglectful, and it's clear that he truly loves his daughter, so there. Now let's move on to the next argument, which is Stolas is victimized when Stella is the real victim, which, okay. Let's just start with the cheating, because they seem to care about it more than Stella does, since cheating is very common amongst royalty, with the arranged marriages and all. And she was more upset about him sleeping with an imp, because that made her look worse than the cheating itself. Not to mention the show doesn't really justify it, so I'm not sure why it's such an issue. But when it comes to their arranged marriage, then yes, Stella is a victim of arranged marriage. But you know who else is a victim of arranged marriage? Stolas! He didn't want to marry her either. He's gay. Did people just forget about that? And that he decided to make the best of a bad situation that they're both stuck in and gave Via the family he never had, while Stella just took it all out on him, because he's the closest target and he doesn't fight back, which makes her both a victim and an abuser, but people tend to ignore the abuser part. And it definitely has nothing to do with her being a woman and Stolas a man. But anyway, let's move on to Stolas' relationship with Blitz, which, yes, it is toxic. Probably why they're not in a relationship yet. But no matter, let's start from the beginning. They met when they were kids, and Blitz was bought off to spend the day with Stolas because Paimon didn't want to deal with him. Stolas, however, was none the wiser and thought that Blitz genuinely wants to be friends with him when he'd rather be anywhere else, which carries on to adulthood. And side note, I personally don't think this reveal made their relationship worse because they had one play date when they were 8. No one would remember that in their 30s. So their second meeting might as well be the first. And people had interesting thoughts about it, like how Stolas was manipulating Blitz into having sex with him, which huh? Are we sure we're talking about the same show? But anyway, let's take a look at what happened, shall we? Blitz was caught breaking into Stolas' room to steal his book. Stolas, of course, didn't know that and thought that Blitz just wanted to see an old friend and joked about him wanting to sleep with him.
You were here to ravish me, weren't you?
It was a joke that gave Blitz the idea to flirt with him to distract him to steal his book. And Stolas was uncomfortable by it, but luckily for Blitz, he's a masochist, so then he made him uncomfortable. So he tied Stolas up while Stolas thought this was part of the, And then this happened.
And how much it means that the one who wants me is my first ever friend.
Apparently, this is where he manipulated Blitz, and what kind of mental gymnastics you had to do to come up with that conclusion? Because I understand when it comes to their deal, but why is this problematic? Really? Stolas made the joke. Blitz was distracting him. Stolas thought he was serious and was happy about it. Blitz felt bad for him, so he decided to actually sleep with him. How does that translate to Stolas manipulating Blitz? If anything, Blitz was the one manipulating him to steal his book. But that was a dumb argument anyway, so let's move on to the real one, their deal. Which, it's problematic. And the terms were set by Stolas alone, and there's a lot to criticize, but it's definitely not essay. Cause while yes, Blitz wasn't really in a situation to make a deal when Stolas called him, granted it wasn't his first call, but still, Blitz could have rejected their deal afterwards, cause it wasn't really magically binding or anything, so he could have went to Stolas and changed the terms, or just gave him back the book and leave, cause I'm not sure why people expect Stolas to just give him the book like that and risk getting in trouble for nothing. And Blitz accepted Stolas' terms because he didn't mind them, because there's no way he was scared of Stolas, cause he didn't respect his title, or him for that matter, and Stolas wasn't threatening or blackmailing him or anything. And while there's definitely a power imbalance, it's not the same as a boss taking advantage of an employee, because I don't think it's an authority-based coercion type of situation. Heck, I think they went out of their way to not make it seem as such by making Stolas oblivious to their different status. And while he constantly fetishized Blitz, it was more him being classist than him exercising his authority. And also, he was under the impression that Blitz desired him too, until Ozzy's. And when Stolas realized that Blitz might not enjoy his company, he started skipping their monthly meetups, and he got Blitz and Asmodean Crystal to end their deal and let him choose to stay or not. And in Blitz's case, I don't think he's as much of a victim as people make him out to be. He could have refused, really, he's not afraid of Stolas. And there are other ways for him to go to Earth. This is just the easiest.
I'm not a fan of someone I offered a job to about to off my easiest lengthy ticket to Earth behind my back.
So the reason why he didn't object to Stolas' terms is because he didn't mind them. Because he doesn't mind exchanging sex for goods and services, like we've seen with Chaz. But of course, this is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree with me. I just don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I mean, this is supposedly Stolas coercing Blitz.
Am I going to get any thank you for the rescue, Blitzy?
Well, I suppose you should. Want me to fuck your brains out tonight?
Very much so.
This is flirting. They're just flirting with each other. Anyway, even if you think that Stolas is awful because of all of that, he still got consequences for it in Mastermind. And no, this was not a response to criticism, since the script for Season 2 was finished before Season 1 was fully released. This was meant to happen from the start. But apparently what he did in Mastermind was bad, because he didn't mention their deal. Which, okay, did you want Blitz to die? Because that's what would have happened if he did mention it. And the entire point of the confession was to save Blitz. That's why he lied. Involving Blitz would have made this whole charade utterly pointless. And I get that he may have unintentionally abandoned Octavia, but why would letting Blitz die be the better option here? And he was miserable at the end. He did get what he wanted for so long, but he also lost everything, including his daughter. So he couldn't be happy like he thought he would have been. And if it's not enough, then what? Do you just want him to die? Oh. Yeah, okay, this is not normal. But then you'll say he's a rich royal, so it's wrong that we were made to care about him in the first place. But aren't we forgetting one teensy-weensy but ever so crucial little tiny detail? He's not real, and you all are treating him like he's Queen Victoria. Oh, God. And if you say it's because vivziepop loves royalty, then first of all, do you want hell to be a vibrant democracy? We don't even have that in the real world. And second of all, Vivzie intended for Stolas to be the villain, and it was Brandon Rogers who wanted to make him Blitz's love interest. In fact, he's a writer in the show as well, but only Vivzie gets the blame for the bad writing, and never Brandon. I wonder why. And seriously, the amount of hate that this series and vivziepop have been receiving is unreal. And I get it. The show is not perfect and it is flawed. But these critics almost never bring up these actual flaws. They just keep saying the same contrived, overblown, regurgitated talking points over and over again. And shit talk vivziepop because it's easy to do so. And I'm not even a huge fan of hers. I like her works, yes, but her... But I don't hate her either. And I don't get why people treat her like she's the Antichrist, especially when she's not the only problematic creator out there, and she's far from being the worst, but only she gets scrutinized. I wonder why. Guess we'll never know. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
That is final.